20 subscribers. Thank you so much. That's really exciting. And I'm really excited about today's character video, Dipper Pines from the TV show Gravity Falls. I actually only started watching this show about a year and a half ago, but I quickly became obsessed. It's fine. I'm fine. All good. And one character that stuck out to me right away was Dipper, because I noticed there's a lot of autism. I don't know if that makes any sense, but and we're gonna go into that today. For starters, his hyper-fixations. Throughout pretty much the entire TV show, he's fixated on one thing and one thing only, finding the author. Who wrote the journal? Why is the town so weird? Maybe the person who wrote the journal figured out the answer. Why did he disappear? Etc., etc. In and among that is the laptop. This is footage of Dipper. He was losing 48 hours of sleep in order to log on to this laptop that he hopes will provide a clue to finding the author. And it eventually does, but not before he loses a bunch of sleep over it. And of course, right from the very first episode, when he becomes convinced that Mabel's new boyfriend is a zombie and obsessively starts collecting all evidence he can find to prove that Norman is a zombie. He also stims a lot, and I haven't gotten to talk about stimming yet on this channel, so I'm gonna sort of hit the pause button on talking about Dipper for just a second. Stimming is repeated movements, behaviors, vocalizations that autistic individuals tend to sort of subconsciously do to calm us down or help us focus. One of mine is this. It's just a little tapping my fingertips together. If I'm in class, if I'm nervous, anything like that. I rub my tongue across my teeth because my tongue's sort of cut up from it, so I try not to do that so often, but if I'm not thinking about it and I get anxious, then I'll start doing it again. And I also have some vocal stims. Actually, it was funny when I learned that randomly quoting movies and TV shows to yourself is counted as a vocal stim. I was like, oh, that's why I've been doing that my whole life. Because people would just walk in on me and be like, what are you talking about? And I'd be like, I don't know, I've been quoting Phineas and Ferb for the past 10 minutes and I'm not even really doing it consciously. I'm just kind of randomly doing it. So that's one of my vocal stems. Dipper, a lot of most of the sims we see involve his pen. So like he's chewing on his pen to the point where the ink explodes into his mouth, and apparently that happens often enough that he needs this little box to hold all the pens that have been destroyed by his chewing. So there you have it. That's just him, more for his thinking. He also clicks the pen a lot when he gets more excited. Like oh no, things are happening, it's exciting, click the pen, that kind of thing. He has vocal stims too, like when he's reading this mystery novel and he's sort of humming to himself and then thinking out loud about what might be the answer to the mystery. And I actually do that too. It's fine if I'm on my own. If I'm like watching a TV show, I'll be processing aloud what's happening, like, oh, okay, but then this connection and what's happening here, and ooh, that's really interesting. What just happened? Ooh, what about this that they said earlier? How does that play into all this? And if I'm by myself, that's okay, but it happens also when I'm watching TVs and movies with other people, and that's something I've had to work really hard on not doing while I'm with other people, because it lessens other people's enjoyment, and I don't want to do that. So yeah. He also has a lot of special interests, just sort of reading the journal, learning about all the paranormal stuff, going on his own little monster hunts, investigating any weirdness, paranormal activity he sees. He also has some entertainment special interest. So this TV show Ghost Harassers, which ties back into the paranormal investigation thing. And then Dungeons, Dungeons, and More Dungeons is one of his special interests as well. This dice rolling, points counting, statistics, and graph paper involving game. Like that's very specific. Just watching that episode, I was like, I'll play with you. That sounds like fun. That'd be cool if I was part of this game world. This one, I really like the Dungeons and Dungeons and More Dungeons episode because two of my two favorite characters interact quite a bit in the show, Dipper being one of them. There's also two episodes where Dipper's social awkwardness and general lack of conventional social skills come into play. The first being season 1, episode 5, Double Dipper. He has this whole complicated plan to talk to Wendy because he's nervous about it. And so he comes up with this whole like script for what he's going to say, how he's going to act. Personally, I do this in my head most of the time, but I can see the appeal of the written list personally. Of course, there's this whole talk to her like a normal person section highlighted. That's if I were writing this down, that would probably be its own, like, there would be that step and then a bunch of other sub-steps for how to do that. I mean, he kind of does that here, but like a normal person is kind of a common scripting out conversations masking thing. I couldn't find a picture of it, but elsewhere on this list, the words eye contact are in block capitals about twice as big as anything else on the list. And trouble with that is a pretty well-known autism symptom. And the fact that he wants to highlight it that much implies that he definitely struggles with it. We also have season 2, episode 16, Roadside Attraction. He's gotten more confident with himself by this time, but his social skills with other people outside of his little circle in Gravity Falls it's harder. So we see he's trying to talk to girls and it's not going so well. She's squishing the ice cream into his hand. It's a waste of good ice cream. And also, personally, my sensory issues would be screaming right now. And I kind of feel like that's what's happening inside Dipper's head, maybe. I don't know for sure that's the case, but that to me is a sensory face. So, or R.I.P. Dipper's hand. And he gets some advice from Stan and he starts employing it, but what he does is he starts masking quite a bit throughout the whole episode, trying to present more neurotypical, even if he's not conscious. That's what he's doing. And he does get their phone numbers and stuff, but the illusion falls apart. He can't maintain it, which I think that's sort of interesting to see as far as like it's kind of stressful, and in the long run, it doesn't actually help with the problem. So I think it's better to just be him and find the people who like him for that. So, Dipper Pines. It's funny. I like taking personality quizzes, and probably about 50% of the ones I've taken for Gravity Falls, I get Dipper. The other 50%, I get a different character 50% of the time. But we have he's the one I'll talk about next if we get to this, but Dipper Pines, his special interests, hyper-fixations, stimming. He's a really great character. It's fun. I don't know. It's fun watching him. Like, he's awkward, but he's really comfortable with himself. And I didn't touch on this, but he doesn't adjust to change as well as Mabel does, and difficulty adjusting to change is another symptom. Right in the first episode, he talks about that. Like, I'm having a hard time adjusting, but Mabel's doing okay. And that's for me too. I mean, every time my family has moved, which it's been a lot, we move around a lot. It takes a lot of adjusting, and it can be difficult. So there's definitely that. He's not the only autistic member of the Pines family, though. I think Mabel might be ADHD, I don't know. But the character in particular that I'm thinking of is I hope we get to 25 subscribers soonish because I can't wait to talk about the other autistic Pines. So, thanks again for 20 subscribers, and that's all for today.